Well, I am doing the nasty. I have made my supper and I'm doing something that I normally wouldn't do. I'm eating something that is, for one, a grain, for two, white. I don't usually eat anything white, dark red, or anything really sinewy, and I sure as hell don't usually eat sugar. But um, today I had to do some grocery shopping and I was remembering things from when I was a child. And we were really low income. And I remember one of the meals that my mother made that I absolutely loved, and I haven't had it for years. I've swore off white noodles, but it's those elbow noodles that you can buy. What are they called? Macaroni elbow noodles. And so I bought a package of them. It was $2.99 for a package. I had a can of soup that I got from the church where I volunteered. And what else did I put in there? A little bit of butter and macaroni noodles and tomatoes and butter. Yeah, that's it. That's all I put. That's all there was. That's all you put in. But okay, no, that's a lie. And then I got a thing of, now, these are all foods that I normally wouldn't eat, right? I got a thing of Cheese Whiz. And the reason why is because I remember my mom making the tomato macaroni and how much I loved it. But I remember her sprucing it up and putting in some, back in the day, it would have been called Cheese Whiz, and they still have it. So I looked all around the store today and I asked one of the employees where the Cheese Whiz was, and sure enough, they have it. So I bought a small container of it. And it was three something. I brought it home and I made my supper, and it is so good. It's so good. I'm having a hard time not eating it the whole pot. So it's kind of messy, but that's what it looks like. And it is just macaroni and tomato and butter. That's it. And salt and pepper. So it's a wonder when you remember things, what the things that your parents cooked for you, especially your mother, right? So yeah, and in those times things were really tough. We were poor, and there's no getting around that. The truth is we were poor. And I remember the 60s, and in the 70s and the 80s it wasn't so bad, but the 60s it was tight. It was tough. We had a really hard time to survive. I couldn't give it up. I couldn't give it up. I had to have it. And, there was one other thing that I remember my mother making in the 60s when we were like dirt poor. I remember her making, they're called spit pancakes. And my mother used to wax the top of the wood stove that heated the house and cooked the food. I mean, we had no electric stove. We didn't even have a way to heat the house. That's how cold it was in there. So we would sit around that kitchen, the old-fashioned wood stove in the kitchen. But anyhow, she would wax the top with, I think it was some type of fat, beef fat, maybe tallow, whatever, and she would wax the top of it. And she would get flour and water. There was no baking soda, flour and water. I remember this. There was no baking powder, no baking soda. We didn't have the money for that, but you can sustain yourself on flour and water, and that's what that woman did. That's what that woman did. Now, when she was able to get yeast, she would make bread. I don't remember her putting sugar in it. And when I make bread, I don't put sugar in it. I kind of follow along the way she did it. And my mother-in-law, she was an amazing cook. So I kind of follow her lead, right? I'm not sure if she put sugar in it, but my mother, she would whip up some pancake mix. She would, get that stove just broiling, right? The wood stove. So she would heat the wood stove up, and then she would mix up flour and water. Flour and water. Make it into a paste, and when the stove was hot enough, she would put a spoonful on the stove, and they were called spit pancakes. Yeah, because they would like bubble, right? They would kind of like spit when they're cooking, and they were so good. And she would get some. I think we always had a little bit of brown sugar, but if we didn't, it didn't matter. She would sprinkle a little bit of white sugar if she had that. But my mother was she raised six kids on her own with no help from anyone. And there was no assistance back in that day that we were getting. Okay, we struggled and it was tough. But I'll tell you, some of the memories, they're not all bad. Just because you're poor doesn't mean that the memories you have are bad. I mean, I'm frugal, got that from my mom, you know. Um, I can make a meal out of anything, got that from my mom and my mother-in-law. Have to give kudos to that lady. Anyhow, I can make a meal out of anything. You know, if you don't have anything in the pantry, you've got to be creative. And that's what I learned from my mother. So I'm really excited about having this meal today. I am going to let you go shortly because I love it and I want to polish it off. This is a long weekend. I don't have any plans for the long weekend. I was supposed to have some plans, so we'll see how that transpires. But to be honest with you, I'm perfectly content with my own company with my cat. I am going to be doing some babysitting with a pet. I'm excited about that. A little playmate for my Toby. I'm really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to it. So, you know, I don't mind being left to my own devices on the long weekend. Don't mind it at all. In fact, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I might get some movies, and I did buy some popcorn, no name brand popcorn, and I'm going to break all the rules this weekend. So I'm going to eat this because I'm telling you, this is amazing. Bye. Have a good weekend. I'm off to eat.